Hey guys, in this video, I want to talk about spray bottles for detailers and give you guys what I think is the best framework for detailers to purchasing spray bottles, what to get, why you should buy one over the other, and what to avoid. After 10 years of me going through spray bottles, here's what I found. So before I tell you guys what I use and why, I want to give you a little bit of an insight as to why spray bottles fail most of the time in the detailing world. Inside of this spray bottle head, there's actually several different moving parts. You have kind of this piston part in here that actually does pump one way to pull liquid out of the reservoir and push it through the spray head. But inside, closer up here to the spray trigger, you actually have this little mesh plastic piece, and around it is kind of this little reservoir where actual product sits before it is launched out of the head. And when I'm spraying a spray bottle like this, you have this one-way pump mechanism that only allows chemical to go out. In other words, when you release the trigger, it does not pull chemical back into the tube. So there is, when you use a chemical inside of a spray head, a little bit of excess chemical left in the spray trigger right here at any given time. So when I take my spray bottle and I put it back on the shelf, if I've been using it, there is excess chemical sitting in the tip of the spray trigger, which actually over time begins to degrade some of those parts in there, and that's what causes most spray trigger heads to fail over time. Now, the most common type of chemical that causes a spray trigger like this to fail, and by the way, when it fails, really what it looks like is you're just spraying out and nothing's really coming out, or it's just kind of foaming up at the tip, but you're not actually getting a spray. You're not getting that pump up and out when you spray over and over again. Acidic cleaners, generally acidic wheel cleaners, when the excess acid sits in the tip of this spray trigger, that is the most common type of spray trigger that fails because the acidic cleaner tends to break down these innermost parts quickest. In other words, if I've got my Meguiar's Synthetic Express spray wax here that is neither an acidic nor an alkaline cleaner, I basically never have to change the spray trigger on this bottle because the type of chemical that's sitting in excess in this spray trigger head is a spray wax. It's not caustic. It really doesn't damage anything, right? So this spray trigger has literally been on here for probably the last year, and it cost, I think, maybe $1.03. So I say that to say that half the battle with spray triggers and getting them to last longer is not so much the spray trigger you buy as much as the type of chemical that's being pumped through that spray trigger. Generally speaking, with a spray head like this, with a bottle full of an all-purpose cleaner or an alkaline cleaner, these spray heads are gonna last 3 to 4 times longer in my experience than most acidic wheel cleaners or acidic cleaners of any kind will if they're sitting in the spray trigger. Now, before we talk about how to make spray triggers like this last longer, if you actually want to do that, I want to tell you which spray triggers I use. This gray spray trigger is probably the most common thing that you'll see in the detailing world. It is just a classic chemical resistant spray trigger that you can find on most online detailing retail stores, and you can buy these in bulk. I buy these generally 25 at a time, and I have in my detail garage anywhere between 25 and 50 of these at any given time. Now, I want to explain why this is because I've been through a ton of spray bottles and a ton of spray triggers. In the detailing world, you can pay more money for a more expensive bottle. For example, this is the IK spray bottle. Okay, it's very popular. Sometimes this comes in black, sometimes it comes in this gray, but this bottle is super durable. I want you guys to see the actual housing of the bottle. I could throw it around, I could knock it against a wall, I could drop it, and this bottle is going to last a really long time. It even has these reinforcements around the neck and around the base to keep it lasting a long time. What is the issue for me as the detailer? Well, the issue is when you're dealing with spray bottles, the bottle or the reservoir where the chemical sits is not so much the issue as the durability of the spray trigger. So on these IK bottles, the spray trigger here is really no different than the inexpensive gray spray trigger that I buy in bulk. In fact, I like this one a little bit better because a lot of the most vulnerable pieces are more protected in the gray spray trigger and more exposed with the IK spray trigger. So once again, this is, in my opinion, a classic example of taking a product and improving on something that is not the biggest issue. The way I would explain it is to say I would never buy an iPhone that didn't make phone calls, right? It's great that my iPhones can play music and I can search the internet, but if I can't make a phone call with my phone, I'm not gonna buy the phone. It's the primary purpose. Well, the primary problem with these bottles and the primary thing that trips detailers up is the spray trigger, not the bottle. So once again, improving upon the bottle is great, but if we can't improve upon the spray trigger, it doesn't make sense for me to pay $15 for a bottle like this when I can pay $4 for one bottle like this that'll last me as long as I want, and then buying the spray triggers in bulk that I can switch out when they start to fail, throw the failed one away and insert a new one. The reason I explain it like that is because I think that's actually the most helpful framework to use when you're thinking about spray bottles in the detailing world is how long will the spray trigger last. And the other thing that's really important for me to say is I have never found a spray trigger in the detailing world that does not fail at some point. Now, what's interesting to note is that these gray spray triggers that I buy in bulk seem to last on average as long as any other spray trigger that I have used when I'm using them on a daily basis. And when you take all of my products on average, yes, the acidic cleaners are going to cause these to fail more often, but the same is true with even the most expensive types of spray bottles. Acidic cleaners will cause the spray triggers to degrade over time, and there's no evidence that I have seen, even with the more expensive bottles, where the spray triggers last longer with the harshest chemicals. So it only makes sense for me to buy these in bulk, because over time, this actually does become the most cost-effective way for me to go through spray triggers. It is not more cost-effective for detailers to buy really, really expensive bottles over time. At least that's been my experience. Now, one of the other things that I want to highlight here is when you're dealing with what I am highlighting as really my favorite type of spray trigger, in addition to spray triggers failing because of chemical failure, they can also fail because of basically just not being durable enough. And when you're in the moment in the detailing world and you're spraying something and you're not really thinking about it, you can kind of be going pretty hard and literally break the spray trigger as you're pulling back and forth. So there are types of spray triggers that are basically just the same thing as what I'm highlighting, but they're a little bit more reinforced. They're a little bit more durable. So this is something that I actually buy from Home Depot, and I put these on the bottles that I use a ton of product with. So for example, if I'm gonna be using Super Clean Degreaser, because I use so much of that product, if I'm not using a pressurized sprayer, I'm just pulling back and forth, I will use a more reinforced spray trigger head because it tends to last longer when I'm being so aggressive. Now I wanna highlight one more spray bottle and trigger that's become kind of popular in the detailing world, more niche hobbyist community, I think, but they're called the Press-All spray bottles. And these are durable and really good looking spray bottles. Something tells me that really the spray trigger doesn't have any difference between the spray triggers that we've been talking about. In other words, I imagine that the acidic cleaners are gonna break them down just as fast as others, and assuming that you're doing something that's relatively labor intensive, you have probably the same chance of breaking it over time. So while there are some detailers out there who like to buy really high-end spray bottles because they look really nice, I totally get that. What I'm trying to speak to right now is say over 10 years of detailing, I have found that truly the most cost-effective and the most efficient way for you to purchase spray bottles is to purchase in bulk these gray spray trigger heads, because they last way longer than you think and they are really, really inexpensive. It truly is a very efficient, very cost-effective way to go through spray bottles. Now, I know spray bottles and spray triggers, among many other things in the detailing world, are really confusing because number one, there's so many options, and a lot of times the options get really expensive really quick, and as a detailer, you're not really sure where to spend money and where not to spend money. So I've actually put together a top 12 tools and products list that'll be available in the YouTube description box below. It's totally free, and it basically is just a way to help you sift through all the information. So if you're looking for the top 12 tools and products I suggest for detailers, all for under 500 bucks, go below and grab that. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you found some value here from talking about some of this content that has taken me a long time to learn, but I think it's valuable for you guys who are starting out or who are growing or looking for a solution to the spray bottle problem, hit the like button, because it's really the only way that I know that you guys actually appreciate the information and it's helping you so I can do more videos like this. And as always, guys, from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, thanks for being involved, keep working hard, and I will see you in the next video.